Hello, and welcome to Broads and Books. I'm Amy.
And I'm Erin, and this is episode number 116, Control.
This is by Janet motherfucking Jackson. Okay?
The iconic Janet Jackson.
I have been in a Janet Jackson mood this week, and I know one of the reasons is because I rewatched Hustlers at the beginning of the week. I forgot that this song is how that movie starts.
Yes.
I also forgot a lot of details of that movie.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
It's a wonderful movie.
It is a wonderful movie.
As a side note, I still don't feel bad for the guys.
No, not even a little bit.
Not at all.
No, not even a little bit.
At all.
You know what I was just thinking when you said Janet Jackson? How do you think that the wardrobe malfunction would have played out today, like in today's world, as opposed to when it happened?
I would hope, because I still see her being shamed.
Yes.
I feel like we would still shame her.
Uh-huh.
I would hope that maybe we would shame JT a little bit more.
Yes.
Justin Timberlake, because he got off scot-free last time. He's the hero of the story. But I don't know. I'd probably go down the same way. What do you think?
I know. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, I would hope it would be different, but I'm not sure it would. I'm afraid that it would, in the current political climate we're in, that it would go even crazier. And people would be like picketing and rioting and not riot's not the right word, but
maybe riots.
You know what group I'm talking about that would be doing that. Yeah. We can't have our children seeing boobs.
Oh my goodness. No boobs. No drag queens. How dare you?
People don't have right stab boobs.
Anyway, Janet Jackson. By the way, she was only 20 when this album came out in 1986. I didn't realize she was that young.
Amazing.
I was obsessed with this album. I was obsessed with Rhythm Nation that came afterward a few years later. I had the VHS tape that came with it with like the videos and stuff.
Not have that.
Yeah. Oh God. And like learning all the dances.
Yes. It's probably a good thing I didn't have that. Oh shit.
Yeah.
I would have gone nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Big Janet Jackson fan.
Yes.
So anyway, love Janet Jackson. Also like the idea of the song Control being our theme.
Absolutely.
Because I like the idea of asserting control and letting other people's opinions and demands go. And that's a hard thing to do.
It is.
But it can make for some very interesting narratives, which we may find in our picks. And I thought it might be a really interesting topic now in our current and political climate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's more summer vibes, 80s summer vibes than Janet Jackson?
Nothing. I'll tell you that. Nothing. I was
Absolutely
re-listening to this album, by the way, and there's 9 songs on it, and I counted 6 of them were on the radio. I remember that.
Wow. You know, we talk a lot about, when we talk about control, about this idea of this live and let live philosophy. Why do you think that's such a difficult concept in practice?
Because the other side is wrong. No, honestly, I think because, like, okay, if we're going to look at it from a political standpoint, right? Like, if some people are saying, like, you got to just let people have their opinions, got to let people have their beliefs, that's fine. However, a lot of different opinions and beliefs are actively hurting people.
Right.
When you believe that guns should be a sacred right for everyone to have, that means that we have public shootings and school shootings and all of that. When you believe that LGBTQ people are not allowed basic dignity, then you have all of the shitty legislation happening right now. When you believe that certain stories shouldn't be told, then you have books being banned.
Yeah.
These are all things that hurt people. So when people say live and let live and let other people have their opinions, it's hard to do.
Well, and I think it gets used as like a way to say live and let live if it's like me.
Exactly.
In a negative way, like
yes.
I do what I, but only if you're doing the same thing as me.
Yes, it's also used in like arguments too, to like shut another person down. Be like, well, I'm entitled to my opinion too. It's a free country. That's fine. But yeah, you're saying that mine are shitty.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I say don't live in, don't. The language I'm working on, the new statement I'm working on. It's not there yet.
It's not there yet, but we'll work on it. We'll
work
workshop it.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll workshop it. Yeah.
So a question for you, Erin.
Yeah.
What is something that you try to take control over because it's a source of pressure in your life, a source of stress, perhaps?
Well, it's something that like I'm in control of, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Like it's my own making, but it's like the family schedule. Like everything is always like falls on my shoulders, to what's going on with the week, when we have to be certain places, like, and it's not out of a traditional roles thing. It's not that other people don't want to help. It's out of a control thing for me. Like, I need to be in control of what's happening, but then that also puts all the pressure on me to have all these things work together and have it happen.
Yeah.
And so it's an area that I know that I have created the problem, but I also will not ever do anything to uncreate the problem. So,
because if you're going to uncreate the problem, then it would be loosey-goosey. And you can't handle loosey-goosey.
No. It's the exact reason that I am the prime target for every new planner ever made.
Yeah.
Because you tell me you have a revolutionary planner system. For some reason, I forget that can't be true. And I go right in. Because a planner is a calendar. So stop saying it's innovative.
Do you think that like planner companies basically in their like, you know, marketing manual, in their demographics, like target demographics, they just have a picture of you?
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. And then they're probably like, look at her search history. Look at her shopping history. She's
Help
ready.
me figure out my life.
She is ready. I can tell this year she feels goal oriented. So let's focus on goal type planners for her.
It's good that you're keeping that industry afloat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Single-handedly.
Single-handedly.
I'm afraid I am. I don't even know if they help, to be honest.
But you know what? I think there is a distinctly woman aspect of that too, because I remember even as a kid loving planners.
Loved my school
Loved
planner.
the idea of like exerting just a tiny bit of control over things that felt out of control, over crazy school work pressure, all of that.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
it's there.
And I don't know what it is. I just feel like my week has to be set up that way, or things go sideways, and it's all my own making.
Yeah,
but
well,
here we are.
But it works for you. And then it allows you to make pretty beautiful organized lists and stuff.
Yes, I love a list.
Yeah.
I love a list. Yeah. Yep. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's not going to change. So,
No.
yeah.
Why should it?
No. And if you listeners have great ideas for planners, I'm not saying I'm close to them. I'm open.
If you have a revolutionary product,
yes,
new innovative thing, sure to outshine all the rest, let Erin know.
Hit me up.
Yeah.
Hit me up. Okay. Well, we've just said something clearly that someone could take control of me with, but if you were granted control over some aspect of our society, what would it be and what would you do with said control?
I would like to take control of the church and state lack of divide. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
So I would like to remove our tax exemptions
Okay.
for religious organizations, because as we've seen in various documentaries, that is exploited to all hell.
Yeah, that's rough.
For various cults and whatnot, and churches masquerading as or cults masquerading as churches. I would like to remove, what's the word? Like on our money. We have something about under God, on our money.
Yeah.
I want to remove that. Okay. I want to remove church from school. I want to do away with church schools. Okay. I think it's because we're all, like church fucks us up. It makes us ill-educated. It makes us fear other people. It makes us bigoted. It makes us all the bad things. It supposedly makes us more moral, but it makes us more immoral, I believe. So I think that we should, if it still wants to exist, great. But right now, the state is supporting it. And the state is saying like, yep, great. So all the abuses that happen, it is tied directly to us saying like, yep, that's fine.
It's okay.
Cool, that's good. Meanwhile, we're sacrificing, women and kids.
Yes.
And yeah.
I've gotten to like a real like tit for tat situation in my life recently with stuff like that. And I feel like there was this idea at one time that church was supposed to be like it had tax exemptions because it's supposed to be helpful, right? It's supposed to produce better people. Okay, so on that premise then, every therapist should not have to pay taxes.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And also we should be investing in things that, we should invest state government dollars in things that are actually good for the public health.
Right.
That could be alternative medicine.
Yes.
It could be therapy. It could be sexuality education, because we need to take more joy in our bodies. Like all of those things.
Yes. 100%.
To make us a better
That's a
citizenry.
good one.
So I'm looking for a way in.
That is a solid. I mean, I feel like you just came up with the campaign platform that fast.
Yeah. Could my title be like Czar of... See, I'm starting off on the wrong foot by saying czar.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think... I'm just going to be honest, and this is where all politics goes wrong. But if we want to appeal to the masses, we're going to have to take off the czar. We're going to have to make you a little more palatable to get you. See, this is how it all goes wrong.
This is how it goes wrong.
Real life illustration.
Yeah.
You have to compromise yourself. You can no longer be a czar in the hopes that when you get in, you can do some good. But by then, you're too corrupt.
I'm too corrupt.
You're too corrupt.
I'm taking money from people who have given me business cards that say czar on them.
Yes.
I mean, really, it comes down to, like, I have been an atheist for a long time, and I always get so upset when people say you can't be moral if you don't have God in your life. And to me, it's like that's what's wrong with the church. It's saying that you're only doing good things because you're afraid of punishment from some mythical figure. Whereas if you divorce yourself from that and you're trying to do good in the world, then I would say that's much more moral.
It is.
Yeah.
It's how you're treating people each time on an individual basis, as opposed to, well, I won't get into heaven, so I guess I'll let this one go.
And I won't insist that my morality is sound, because as you saw, I was just trying to vie for czar, that kind of title. Yeah,
I don't even know if we have to put that in the morality category. I feel like we do that a lot, right? We do a lot of morality decisions that aren't even things that have good or bad sides.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you heard it here first. That's what's I'm going to be doing.
Well, as the czar of planners, I'm excited to get you on the campaign trail.
Yes, I'm going to need a planner for this. I'm going to need a full-on organizational system.
Obviously.
Yes. So pitch me your best organizational system so I can start this process.
Okay. Good. Mm-hmm.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Might also be down the overpower route.
Yeah.
Let's consider people who have been wronged. Mm-hmm. Okay. And let's consider, and I don't think this is a far stretch because I think you would do this, if you were going to be a vigilante for someone who has been wronged. Okay. What would be your favorite type of revenge or control?
I kind of went wide. Like, I think that if I could assert control or revenge, it would be instilling rationality.
Oh, shit.
And let me explain. I don't necessarily want to stop people from speaking, because that's what I thought at first. Like, I would just have the ability to make someone stop talking. Like,
that's a pretty good power.
Right. But then I'm like, well, we don't really get anywhere with that, right? So instead of that, I would want the power to make the person stop and actively somehow I control their brain, and they have to think through every part of what they're saying.
Oh my God.
To make sure it's a sound argument with specific examples. And if it's not, it just won't leave their mouth. It just can't come out. Wow. Because I just feel like we've forgotten that words have power.
Yes.
I'm going to revise that. We've forgotten in some cases that words have power. In other cases, we think words have more power than they do.
Yes. So thoughts and prayers, baby. Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. And like, we want to ban books on one side, but then we're okay with people who are elected politicians on the news saying things that are clearly not true, not scientifically true, not true to the facts of the country, anything like that. So I want the ability to instill some rationale. I feel like that's what we're missing. Is just be rational.
I like that. How I'm considering now, like, how you would do that. Like, if you would touch them on the shoulder and suddenly they would gain this power.
I don't want to touch anyone. It's mind bullets. Mind bullets. It's my eyes, and I just look at you, and then it happens.
I forgot. This is like a post-pandemic world. There's no touching.
No.
What the hell?
No. Ew.
Good Lord.
No. I just want to be able to look. It's a program that gets downloaded in your brain by my eyes.
Okay.
And you're like, oh, I want to say, but I can't because it's not rational.
Oh, man. I think cable news would have to disappear.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
A lot of reality shows would have to disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people in our government would be voted out, which that would be very nice.
It would be very nice.
Yeah. I think we would see a lot more women in power. None of these are drawbacks. These are all wonderful things.
Right.
I say mind bullet away.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think it would be amazing.
Have you been practicing your mind bullets?
I mean, I think I have. I don't think I'm getting anywhere.
I'm envisioning you like trying to practice on like Mason or something,
Yeah.
getting him to,
I mean, sometimes as a mom, you do feel like you have it because, like, you
Yeah.
can give a look and they know. Like, especially
true.
in public, I can like give
Yeah.
him a look and he knows right away that
Ooh.
something went down.
So you already have that power inherent. You just
Yeah.
got to build it up. Mm-hmm. Would you have a fun name? It wouldn't be Czar. We've already outlawed Czar.
Or would it be?
Or would it?
Or would it be?
The Czar of rationality?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Chief Rationality Officer.
oh, that's it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I could see the email signature now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I would just pop up in places because if I'm a vigilante, I have the ability to go wherever.
Exactly.
And I just pop
Yeah.
up. Like, I don't know, at a press conference where someone says ingest bleach, I might just pop up and be like, okay, well, we got to take a beat. He needs a mind bullet reboot and we'll be back. And then people will be like, oh shit, yeah, that was crazy.
Oh, I like that. I like the idea of not only having to say rational things going forward, but maybe even looking back at the things you've said in the past and be
Yes.
like, oh God, I was out of line.
I was out
I was
of line.
dumb.
Yeah. We could just, I think everyone can benefit from a beat before we make a decision or we say something.
Yes.
But particularly in cases where, I don't know, you might be inclined to listen to a drunk Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah.
I think that maybe that's a good time for me to show
Great
up.
time.
Chief Rationality Officer, hey,
Yeah.
couple things. His face is melting. He farted in public. He's drunk. Maybe his ideas.
You showed up at a lawn company.
He booked the Four Seasons
Yeah.
Lawn Company
Yeah.
next to an adult bookstore. So maybe we put a
Maybe-
pin in his ideas
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
come back to that. Circle back, okay? All right. Good.
You're going to have way more work than you know what to do
Too
with.
much, yeah. I'm
You're gonna
probably going to
make-
have to clone myself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or if there's some way that you can pass your power on. I mean, I'd be happy to help
Yeah.
you. Be your,
Maybe I can train troops.
Yes. I could be your lieutenant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stick a weird
Deputy
turn.
Chief
Yeah.
Rationality Officer. Oh, I like it.
Yeah. I think we're on to something.
I think we are too.
I think we're on to something.
And my first pick
Yeah.
has to do with women having a certain sort of power
Ooh.
that they may not recognize. So for my fiction pick, I have a book that's fresh off the printing press, fresh off the wires, something.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I got
okay,
there.
Yeah. It's called The Change by Kirsten Miller. So picture this. This is where we start. We're in a Long Island suburb.
Okay.
And there's a house that used to be like the gem of the neighborhood, right?
Ooh.
It's historical, it's beautiful, it's got nicely manicured lawns, whatever. And there's a rich and successful white couple that live in there. But then the rich, successful couple, they divorce. And the woman, Harriet, is alone. And in a very short amount of time, nature takes over. The lawn has gone to seed. Plants are growing out of control. There's brambles and thorns, like it's looking like a medieval castle type situation. And people are whispering about her, that she's let herself go, that she's different, that she's a little weird. I mean, she's almost 50 and she's a little witchy. This is a little weird.
No.
So there's a HOA for the neighborhood. And the leader is picture a middle manager man.
Okay.
He is aghast. And he goes over to tell Harriet that she has to fall in line and take care of this yard. But she has no intention of listening to him. And in fact, when he goes home, suddenly his own yard is invaded by weeds. And he has a rash all over his body. Okay. So that's Harriet. Elsewhere in the neighborhood, and Harriet is in, like I said, she's almost 50. She's in her late 40s. Elsewhere in the neighborhood is Jo, and she's also in her late 40s. And she's been having massive hot flashes and uncontrollable rage. And when she's having some of these flashes, she can almost swear she can see the heat coming off of her hands.
Oh.
And even use it as a weapon. Then there's Nessa, who is also in her late 40s. And she's suddenly able to see and hear dead people. And she's hearing a teenage girl who guides her to her body on the beach.
Oh.
So pretty soon, these three women, they band together because this girl has been murdered.
Oh.
And they want to band together on behalf of this girl and some other bodies that they find along the way.
Oh, God.
Turns out there's a lot of girls that have been missing that are now dead. And the women are determined to make the police listen to them because up to this point, the police have been like, yep, they're all runaways. Like, it just happens, unfortunate, but that's how it goes. Also, the women are determined to find out who's behind this, even if it leads them to the rich side of town, which is a gated community of billionaires. All very, very rich white men in their mansions that are untouchable and outside the law.
Oh, no.
So together, Harriet, Jo, and Nessa, they use these new powers of seeing the dead, of channeling heat and rage, and a sort of otherworldly ability with plants and nature. And they're on a hunt and on a mission to figure out what's happening to girls in their town. I chose it for this theme because the idea, I fell in love with the idea right away, had to pick it up. I love the idea of women in menopause, which is the time when I think we just sort of decide that women are useless now. They're done.
Yeah, it's over.
They are gaining powers instead.
Yeah.
They're becoming more powerful than they ever were when they were young. And they have been through the ringer in their jobs, in their lives. They've been passed over. They've been ignored. They've been patronized. But for the first time, they're gaining control over their lives. And they're letting go of what they think, what others think they should do. They're letting go of what others say that they should be. They're letting go of that idea that they should just fade into the background and become invisible. And they're like, no, not for me.
No, I don't think so.
And they're using that to take down men with too much power, which is gratifying as all hell.
Yeah.
So it's part mystery, it's part speculative fiction, it's part women's stories, and it's battling this idea that women over a certain age, and especially when they start menopause, are no longer valuable. And it's the idea that maybe we're finally free when that happens. Yeah. And it's time to fuck some shit up.
That sounds amazing. Love it.
I will admit, really want to be Harriet.
I got to be honest, when you were describing it, I was like, is this your new book? And you lied. And then you just gave a different name. Because it sounds like, something you could have written.
Honestly, it reminded me, because in my story collection, I have that story of the women in their 80s gaining powers. And I was like, I'm not the only one with this desire for us to gain powers as we get older, you know? Yeah.
I love it. Well, my book is also fresh off the wires.
Fresh off the wires?
It's published in June. We're still in June. It's called Counterfeit by Kirsten Chen. And I got to upfront, this novel is doing so many things at once that I would catch myself thinking about it when I wasn't reading. And it kind of reminds me of like going to a restaurant and you get in and they give you a huge menu and you're like, you can't do this many things well. But then they do. Like everything you've ever ordered from there is delicious. That's what this book is. You're like, what are you doing? You did that now? Yeah. And it's doing it in a way like it's presenting it like it's something else, and then it just gets flipped on its head. It was amazing. So it comes together in some very unexpected ways. Ava Wong is this dutiful Chinese-American housewife, went to Stanford, got a law degree, became a lawyer, married the right guy who happens to be a transplant surgeon, has a child at the right time. But somehow the pieces are just not quite fitting. It just doesn't feel like she's fulfilled or has what she wants, or is sort of having that feeling of like, is this it? Like I did it all? She's yearning and she can't put her finger on what it is exactly. And this is when Winnie Fang enters the picture. And Winnie was her freshman year college roommate who dropped out under suspicious circumstances like 2 months in. So they didn't spend a lot of time together. And she was from mainland China when she came to college. So she looked to Ava for a lot of things like, what does this mean? What does this mean? Was so eager to learn. So they kind of have an odd memory of each other as friends. But she waltzes back into her life and she is like the picture of wealth and success. She's decked out, but really tastefully. You can tell she has money, but in a tasteful way. It's like everything that Ava thought that she was going to be is sitting across from her. And Winnie needs a favor. She's got a friend who needs a transplant, but is from another country and is having trouble getting it. So she was hoping that Ava's husband would help. So right away, we know that there was a reason she reached out. But in the meantime, Ava learns a little bit of something about what Winnie does for a living. And Winnie imports counterfeit handbags and sells them back to stores for a profit. Sells the originals and sells the counterfeits. Crazy huge empire, making hand over fist money, just crazy amounts of money. And before long, Ava gets swept up in the business. A circumstance happens and she's like, you know what, I can do this. I'm going to help you. And from there, the whole story gets turned on its head. This thing gets so big and so out of control before they realize it, and before even the reader realizes it, that there's sort of nowhere to go but explosion. And then the author just completely flips it, and I can't tell you why, but it is so good. And I just felt I picked it for this theme because it examines so many things. Like there's a definite examination of Asian stereotypes and Asian American stereotypes, and a huge part of our conscious and unconscious bias. Like even when we consider ourselves to be someone who has done reading or has tried to be more aware of their own thought processes or biases, we still have them, and they happen. Mm-hmm. And so I loved what the author was doing here of using it against you. Like you realize you had it later on in the book and you didn't even think about it. And it also has a lot to say about success and getting ahead in a world where we don't ever start from an honest or even place.
Yeah.
We put all this morality and we hold up these people who like, oh, you did this great thing, but we never acknowledge the fact that not everyone has that same path upwards.
Yeah, or that generational wealth funded it, or all of these things.
We assign so much credit to the process, like, oh, you were so honest and did it honestly, but we never look at the base of it, the foundation.
Yeah.
So I thought that it had a lot to do with how people's thoughts and opinions and sometimes color what we do, but also can color what we do for ourselves. And sometimes examining those brings up the opposite of what you thought, or truths that you might have held about yourself, and it kind of changes it. I found this quote from the New York Times reviewer, Camille Perry, and I loved it because I think it sums up the book so well. If the dream itself is a false promise, why not achieve it through fakery?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I just felt like that hit it on the head so well.
Yeah, it's like recognizing it's a game, so why not play the game well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's something. Mm-hmm. It's one of those two that I feel like is going to get the title of unlikable characters.
Yeah.
And I think that the author is kind of playing with that too. Like, why do you think that they're unlikable? What's unlikable about it specifically? And it's interesting the turns that it took for a story that's, ostensibly about counterfeit handbags. So,
wow. Mm-hmm. Also, that quote makes me think, whew, some of our illegal businesses that we've, suggested, we might as well. Might as well do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for other genre books, I have a book from 2020. It's such an unusual book. It's really hard to categorize like what it is, which is part of the reason I love it. It's called A Ghost in the Throat by Darren Nagrifa. And Darren is a writer and poet in Ireland. And at the time of this book, she's a mother devoting all of her time to her 4 small kids. She has like 4 kids under the age of 6. She's just delivered a daughter through emergency C-section who spent a lot of time in the ICU. And so she's very much in this like caretaking and caregiving role, right? Mm-hmm. And at that time, she rediscovers a poem that she read as a teenager. And the poem was written by an Irish noblewoman in the 1700s. And this woman, she fell deeply, all-encompassing into love and married her lover, and then found her husband murdered and exploded in rage and grief. So Darren, she's breastfeeding, she's caretaking, she's got very little sleep, she's focusing on all the basics of life, and she becomes obsessed with this poem. And she keeps reading it and reading it and rereading it and spotting parallels with her own life, and maybe even drawing parallels that weren't necessarily there, but she's seeing it. And she wants to know more about the poet because of this obsession, but she can't find much. So she decides to do her own research, to find out more about this poet, to tell her story. And so over months and over years, she starts researching the writer, along with translating the poem from Old Irish to English.
Oh, wow.
So she's doing both of these things.
Yeah.
So the book then is a memoir of this time, as well as sort of showing what she learned about the woman's life, a bit of figuring out the translation along with the original poem and the translation, and more. So I chose it for this theme because one of the ideas that Darren keeps returning to during her obsession is, what is she doing this for? Like, why is this an obsession of hers? should she be spending all of this time on this project? Is that selfish? Why does it matter? Why is it this the thing that's calling her attention? And the fact that this is happening while she's a mother of young kids means that she's getting judgment from others and from herself. She's deeply in love with her kids. She's enjoying giving herself over to her kids, but she also needs this thing for a reason she can't quite put her finger on. She needs this poem, she needs this project, and this connection to this other woman from hundreds of years ago. So she keeps going, and the result is this just fascinating and beautiful book. But even if it didn't turn into a book, is it still valuable? This time that she spent and this obsession that she has. So over time, she's increasingly able to sort of let others' opinions about her go, right? To just be like, I need this. I can't quite say why, but I need it. And just pursue her passion. And it's deeply fulfilling for her. And yes, it did get turned into a book and it got a bunch of awards, but would it still have been valuable without it? And I think that's maybe one of the questions that when you're done reading it, you have to think about. And be like, maybe it is, maybe it wasn't. Maybe this was a moment of, psychosis. Maybe this was just something that was really, really powerful in that moment. So I love that idea.
I feel like it's so relatable because I don't know about you, but in times of stress or even just sometimes if maybe I'm in a rut, I can feel myself like kind of get obsessed with something.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but at that time, like it's just something that gets me out of that headspace. And I focus on it, whatever it is for that period of time. It might be a few months, a year, whatever. And then I move on. It's so relatable.
It's so relatable. Yeah. And I feel like even just in small doses, I get this where like for some reason, a certain TV show or a movie totally calls to me. And then I get super obsessed about the actor and I just want to know everything. And I'm watching interviews. And so we all have that tendency, I think. And she just follow her. And hers is a little more literary perhaps, but she follows it because she feels this connection and she wants to really explore that.
I think it's an area that we don't give enough credit to, which is the fascinating and differentiated way our brains work, which is I'm stressed here and this is something I can have control over. So I'm going to channel it into that. And that's going to help me emotionally deal or, physiologically deal with whatever is going on over here. And I don't think we give enough credit to that. We want to dismiss it as like a weird habit or a weird result of stress as opposed to like that's actually someone's mechanism for dealing with what's ever going on.
Yeah.
And, that can't be bad.
Yeah. And, there's so many times where obsession, we maybe don't frame it that way. We frame it as, when someone writes a book, they pretty much have to get obsessed with that book in order to see it through that long process.
Absolutely.
Anyone creates a movie or a TV show, they have to be obsessed with it in order to do the work necessary to create it.
Yeah.
So somehow she's judging herself and others are judging her because she's doing this project that isn't giving her money and she's doing it while she's a young mother. And so there's all these, external opinions that she has to start letting go of and be like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's real. I think you would really appreciate it. I think anyone who's been a mom will appreciate it, but I also think, I'm not a mom and I really, really loved it.
I think we can all relate to times that we're underwater or feel like, hey, I don't feel like myself. I don't feel like anything's connected to me.
Yeah.
I feel sort of used up by everything else in my life.
Yeah. And sort of looking back to history too.
Yeah.
She really finds this connection, even though she has nothing in common with this noble woman, like that idea of finding love and then losing it and sort of losing yourself in the process. She gets really intrigued by and finds that relatable. Yeah.
Well, for my other genre pick, I went a little bit a different route. And there's a very specific reason why. So this book is called Financial Intelligence, A Manager's Guide to Knowing What the Numbers Really Mean by Karen Berman, Joe Knight, and John Case. And this has been published multiple times with multiple updates. And I will tell you that as a business owner, this is a book that I have read and reread and have referred to many times. And I think that if you're interested in business, starting a business, have a business, manage people, interested in money, that you're going to find this book helpful and insightful. And I have what I think is the reason why, and it is because it is written by a woman. Ooh. And there just isn't a lot in that area of business books.
Very dude heavy.
And this is so easy to understand and relatable. It just breaks down financial numbers so that you can make good decisions about how your business is going to grow, what to do when it's not growing, and how to present your business to others, whether that be banks, investors, a partner, whatever it is, so that you can really have the best financial picture of your business. But also, if you wanted to apply this to your personal life, you could too, if it's just your own life or budget or whatever. And I just love this book because it's so clear and so concise and simple. And she's not trying to dazzle you at any time with like her financial prowess, her accomplishments, or education, which, by the way, would blow most CEOs out of the water. She has a master and doctorate in organizational psychology from the California School of Psychology and a bachelor's of science degree in managerial economics with a minor in psychology from the University of California at Davis. So she's genuinely interested in helping you get the most out of your business. And what I like about it and why I picked it for this theme is because I think that a form of control people use is to make other people feel like they can't understand something.
Yes.
You can't understand this. It's too difficult for you. It's too advanced of a topic. Instead of saying, maybe you're not explaining it well enough if someone can't understand it. And I feel like that's a way that a lot of times people make business owners feel bad or make them feel like they're not being successful. If, there's a lot of people who start businesses who have no interest in the numbers or the financial side, but they have a wonderful product or service that the world needs. And to me, this is a really great way to get a better hold of that and feel like you have some ownership over that. And you can say to someone, no, this is what that means, or this is how I feel about that. I think a lot of times business books spend a lot of time convincing you that everything you're doing is wrong and their top 230 ways to make a successful business are the best way. And I don't believe that that's true. And two, I think that that's just a form of control. It's a way to make other people feel like they're better at something than you are. And it's just an annoying thing I find in business. There's room for everyone. And if we all have a better language that we all understand, that's better for everyone. That's better for communication across the board. It doesn't have to be a secret. It's not some big formula. It's not something that you can't understand. And I see it all the time. People ask questions about setting up their business or things. And what I feel like every time is like they already know. They just need someone to validate, because it's a world where people try to make other people feel like they're never going to understand it.
Yeah.
And it's just much more simple than that. And she does an amazing job with illustrations and definition sides and just the whole style, the way the book is written. It's perfect. So she actually passed away in 2013. And this book is still being reprinted with updates because it's that good. I mean, it's just a great resource. So it can be sometimes a little bit difficult to get your hands on a copy. It's one of those you're probably not going to find a deal on. You might have to buy whatever hardcover's out at that time, but it is terrific. They went through, after this was such a success, she also wrote books specific to some different industries. So if that's interesting to you, that you can look at that. But I'm telling you, even if you're not a business person at all, this book is just interesting to have a language. We hear it all the time. We talk about the economy. We talk about the financial health of the United States. And those are things that if they use words that I think are meant to throw people off.
Yes.
And if you have a better knowledge of it, then you can kind of see through the bullshit.
I love that idea of like inaccessibility as a form of control, because it feels like everything related to money, whether it's financial planning, whether it's buying a car, whether it's buying a house, feels like it's almost deliberately difficult to understand. Like people make their living off of it being inaccessible and making us feel stupid so that they can make money off of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's what I like about it too is she says something right in the beginning that I have always held as a truth, and you might have heard this before, like you can make the numbers look however you want because there's a way to make a formula to make it come out the way that you want. And she readily says the same thing. And she said, but what you should be doing is using that to your advantage. If you're going to the bank to get a loan, you can present things in a way that they understand better what you're saying, because businesses have their own thing. They have their own ebb and flow. They have their own signs of success. And instead of trying to put everyone into this cookie cutter model, we can look better and say, well, yeah, but look at all of this that they have. Or look, there's a lot more markers to look at than just black and white bottom line. So,
wow.
It's not a sexy read. It's not a jazzy read.
But it feels more welcoming than most business books, like you said.
It is. Yeah.
I feel like most of them are so intimidating that, yeah.
And I like it. I know this is a weird thing, but the font's a little bigger and the spacing between the lines is a little bigger. And I think that's helpful.
That makes a difference.
I think it's helpful in a topic that's difficult because it makes it seem more accessible.
Nice pick.
Oh, I like it. It's a personal fave.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And especially when it comes to women and money, there are issues of control that... Yeah, we need to know about and let go of.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I like it.
I want to be financially intelligent.
See? What a great name, too. Financial intelligence.
Yeah.
It also takes away that thing, like, if you don't understand money or numbers, that you're dumb.
Yes.
No,
because
it's a specific thing.
There's different kinds of intelligence, and so she's building. Love it. Mm-hmm. So for pop culture.
Yes.
Got a little lighter fare than financial intelligence.
That's good, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Heartstopper. And it's on Netflix.
Yes.
This
Evan
came out
loves
very
this.
recently. There's 8 half-hour episodes, very quick, and it is just utterly beautiful and adorable and wonderful. So Charlie is a young high school boy who is the one known gay person at his all-boys school. And he's gone through some bullying because of that. And when we meet him, he's sneaking around with one of those bullies who will kiss him secretly, but then pretend like he doesn't know him and treat him like shit elsewhere. Charlie is friends with a couple of other sort of outsiderish boys who form a strong group. But one of their friends, Elle, has left. She came out as trans the previous year and then moved to a neighboring girls' school. So there's some uncertainty. There's a lot of change. There's just feeling not great about himself. And this is when he meets Nick in his homeroom. And this is in the UK, by the way. So Nick plays rugby, and he's popular, and a bunch of girls like him. But Nick is not like the others. He's very nice. He's very kind to Charlie. And immediately, some sparks are flying. And they become friends, they grow closer, and soon Nick is wondering if he's so straight after all. So we have this very sweet romantic comedy spread out over episodes where Charlie is learning his own self-worth. He realizes he's better than what he's had to deal with. And Nick is learning what it might mean if he likes guys as well as girls and how that will affect his life. The cast is wonderful. Everyone's adorable. Olivia Colman makes a guest spot as Nick's mom. And they have this wonderful, like, very touching scene towards the end. So I chose it for this theme because a couple of our characters, Charlie and Elle, have taken control of their lives and claimed their identities. And they put up with a lot of shit for it, but they're learning to let go of that and just live. And Nick is starting that journey once he meets Charlie and falls for him. And the way that they deal with Nick trying to understand himself, trying to assign like language to himself, trying to figure out what this all means, and learning that he may not like the friends he's surrounded himself with is done really well. It's very thoughtful. It's very touching. And ultimately, I think I love that there's media like this because I never saw anything like this when we were growing up. And I had no idea what bisexuality looked like. This would have been revolutionary to me. And I imagine to so many people of our age. And I understand that, you know, at the same time that we're getting more media like this, we're also getting more and more oppression, right? We're getting more and more anti-trans laws and anti-gay laws and all that. But I feel like at least I'm so happy that there's stuff like this to counteract all that bullshit over here, you know, and that kids will find it, that like the people who need it will find it, and maybe they'll recognize themselves and maybe it'll save their damn lives. And it's very, it's wonderful, very romantic, sweet, all the things.
Oh, sounds great.
Yes.
Evan has mentioned it multiple times. He
has he watched it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He loved it.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I went a little darker. Again with Control.
Okay.
And a recommended docuseries. It's 4 episodes. It's all out. It's called The Deep End. And this is a spooky little dip into a cult.
Did you say a spooky little dip?
Spooky little dip.
Just a little dip into cult land.
Just a little dip. Because I think that there's a lot more here, but they kept it to 4 episodes.
Okay.
So that's why I'm calling it a scoop, because I think you could find some more stuff about this lady.
Okay.
So Teal Swan.
Nope.
That was immediately my reaction. I was like,
what?
The first 10 minutes, I'm like, what are they saying your name is? I looked it up and I was like, no.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
No. No.
I know that's judgy, but we got the context that we probably should judge.
You should judge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So she became super popular on YouTube basically by being brutally honest, but in this sort of spiritual realm, like get honest with yourself type of thing. Self-appointed guru, no formal education. Okay? No research.
Whenever someone self-appoints themselves as a guru, I first think of their email signature. I don't know why. Maybe because I just see
I would like that.
I would like to see, self-appointed guru. And then I think that's some audacity.
Yeah.
To just say, I'm a guru.
I'm a guru. It'd be like if I put, I consider myself financially intelligent at the end of my my email signature. Just a guru for no reason. She hasn't done a damn bit of research.
Oh my God.
I don't even know if she's read a book.
Oh, probably not.
Because all she does is basically tell people exactly what she's thinking without a filter and without any kind of discussion. But somehow she's framing it in this weird way that people are like, oh my God. She claims that like basically she's got a higher, like a connection with the spirit that's speaking through her and telling her what she should be telling people.
Nope.
Yeah. So what's interesting about this docuseries, because we got a million of them about cults, right? Mm-hmm. This one is interesting, one, because I feel like she got popular just by being a bitch, which is in and of itself, I sort of admire.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But really what happens is she's getting backlash online because she's telling people basically like, if you feel that bad, sometimes the only answer is suicide. Because she has a belief in reincarnation. So
Jesus Christ.
So there's people getting involved that are like, this isn't right. This isn't good. So she realizes that her empire, because what are all cults about, right? Money.
Yeah.
So her empire is going to be threatened if these issues keep rising. And she's like baffled. Like, why would anyone say that? They just don't want to face their own truth, which is the best comeback ever, right?
Yep.
You just want
to
face
back
your
on
own
you.
truth.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So she hires a PI to act like she's doing an investigative story, to see what she would dig up, to see what these people would say so that they know how to make PR basically to address this. The PI is the star of this show.
Oh,
okay?
Man.
This lady she looks like the nicest person, and she's very kind, and she just digs in and she gets deep and she hears some crazy stories, and the things that she responds is, her ability to just stay in the middle and stay on task just blew me away. I mean, she would hear crazy things about not letting people leave this place, and she'd be like, oh my. And that was because she decides that she's going to approach this from what the biggest complaint is that it's a cult. So I'm going to take the 13 or however many tenets of cults there are. I'm going to take them one by one and see if I can find evidence of this.
Okay. That's a smart approach.
Right.
Yeah.
And at first she's like, okay, that doesn't, all right. That's just someone's opinion. That person's following it. And then as the further we get in, it's ticking more and more boxes. And until the point where it sort of comes to a head with Teal. And I won't tell you what happens because it's part of the fun, but I don't even know really how to explain how weird it is or how she gets this power. You have to watch it to see it happen. It's like I said, it's 4 episodes. It ends kind of in a weird place. It almost feels sort of undone, but I think that's the point because she's still operating. So there isn't sort of any finality to this yet. One of the other storylines is this guy that's been like her best friend, and at one time they were more than that for the entire time, meets another woman and wants to get married, and this creates a whole dynamic that really is just jealousy, but Teal has to somehow frame as something else. So watching the acrobatics in her head of how she can say that this is like a spiritual problem instead of just a like, hey, I think I still love you problem is fascinating. But also, wow. She also has some of the most illustrious hair I've ever seen.
Oh.
It's sort of mesmerizing. It looks so healthy and so like I want to touch it. And I kind of wonder if maybe she was like, I got this head of hair. I'm going to run a cult.
That may be.
Yeah.
Like you get overconfident in one area of your life.
So.
And you're like, I know all the answers.
Yeah.
I'm going to self-appoint myself a guru.
And she does something a couple times in the series. And I don't know if she's dyeing her hair or it's like a really intense hair mask. I haven't figured that out yet. I think it might just be a hair mask, like you put stuff on it to keep moisture. I don't know. But that's really all I wanted to know afterwards was what was that?
I mean, when you're named Teal Swan and you have a great head of hair, I think cult is probably the only career path for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She thinks that she has the power to help her team. She has people come to these retreats, and she has people on her team that work with her, and they take the place of people in these people's lives, supposedly channeling memories from childhood. So like you came on the retreat and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to be one of your family members from childhood, and I'm going to say what they said. And somehow I know that. Yeah. And then I'm going to say things to you afterwards. Like what I really felt like was like, maybe there was some abuse. Like things get dark.
This is such a great thing for this theme, obviously. Like, we've talked many times about that fallacy that, like, we would never fall for a cult. That's what everyone thinks, right? We would never fall for a cult. But it feels like the more, like, the external world feels out of control, or even your internal world is starting to feel out of control, the more you're seeking something like this. Somebody that will tell you the answers.
Yes.
Somebody that will tell you, like, why things are happening the way they are. No wonder so many people fall for cults, because our world is out of control.
And I truly, 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 in my heart of hearts, believe that part of that is that we do not have good access to therapy. People can't afford it.
Absolutely.
Or there isn't enough resources in their area. There's not enough emphasis put on that. So they're looking for an answer that if they had some help, they could probably get there.
Yeah.
And instead they let someone else step into that role, and then they buy in all the way because it feels like the way out.
And when you're feeling that way, you're very vulnerable.
Yes.
So you're open to being taken advantage of. Yeah, absolutely.
I also picked it for this theme because as a cult leader, what's fascinating to me, you know, this week we were talking about letting go of people's opinions of you. Like, she's this cult person who's like trying to get people to own themselves, but then she's so focused on what these people online are saying about her, and so worried about this all affecting her work and spreading her mission, i.e., come on, we all know what it's really about.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's baffling. It's weird. It's shot in kind of a different style, which I liked. So it doesn't feel as much like a straight across documentary.
Okay.
So it sort of feels like you're an observer just following her around.
Interesting.
It's real weird.
I think that she's probably lacking a chief rationality officer.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. There's so many times where I was like, if someone just said that's bullshit, what would she do?
Because I mean, if she's so worried about what people are online are saying,
Yeah.
she might have had to,
I mean, she's just so combative that people just shut down. So no one challenges her. And I feel like if someone's just like, hey, nah.
Yeah.
And stayed super calm, that is the best undoing for someone like that. Like they can't, they can't.
Isn't that the gray rock philosophy you mentioned?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
They can't flap you. And then they're like, well, shit. My normal crazy stuff isn't working.
Yeah.
Would you like a hair mask? The answer is yes.
And a name change. So follow-up question to Chief Rationality Officer. So
Yes.
with these mind bullets, do you have to be in the vicinity of the person for that to work?
I think initially in the testing phase.
Okay.
But I think that our overall goal has to be no.
I was going to say, because at some point you would want to, without meeting Teal, send some mind bullets her way so that she understands.
And I think that's going to be key about training other people.
Yes.
So that we can send people places
long
and say, hey.
distance.
Like, we're obviously going to have a big unit always based in Washington, D.C.
Oh,
They're not
God.
going to be able to leave a lot, unfortunately.
A 24-hour service.
At least at the beginning.
Yes.
To get
Till
it
we get all the elected
right,
officials
right.
on board. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to need some, like, in Brussels. Is that where, like, The Hague is? And, like,
Yeah.
I'm totally not sure about that. We're going to need some in London. We're
Yep.
going to need, because there's some lack of rationality there. We're going to need a big contingent in Russia.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to take some special training.
So we need some worldwide capability here. Yeah.
In a lot of
We
places.
need intercontinental mind bullets.
I think we need a thing where if you type in www.goop.com, you automatically get a mind bullet.
Get them.
You don't need moon juice. You don't need a vagina egg.
Yes.
You need to get off this site.
All of those things.
Yeah.
Anytime someone signs up for an MLM, mind bullets.
Mind bullet.
Coming right at
Done.
your way. Yeah.
Mind bullet. See ya.
I'm going to need you to really work on that and figure out how to hone that and how to teach it.
I'm going to have to be real careful not to turn into a teal swan and spread my message.
Listen, as your deputy chief, I'm going to do my best to keep you humble.
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
but also support you as you develop this
good.
immense
I think that's
power.
a good idea. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is, in fact, one of the questions she gets the most pissed about. Somebody asked if she has any mentors, and she's like, if I have the answers, why do I need a mentor? And they were like, well, that seems odd to me that you don't want anyone else's input. Why? Why is that odd to you? Is it because you don't believe in me? I mean, she totally flips it in the weirdest way. And I was like, wow, that was effective and creepy.
It feels like she took a page from the Pope back 1,000 years ago, who was just like, I'm important.
Yeah.
So believe
hello,
me.
here I am.
Yeah. I'm
Hello.
the Pope.
Uh-huh.
That's a big deal.
I wear teal, and
yeah.
I name myself Teal. What? No one's ever heard of that. Yeah. What an episode.
What an episode. Just
Loved
on a
it.
roller coaster of control.
So many kinds of control.
Yeah.
So many kinds. And yet we feel so out of control.
So out of control. But man, once you develop those mind bullets and make them teachable, we are
we're-
going to feel right back in control.
We are on the way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're going to keep this 80s pop vibe going
Rolling
all summer
all summer.
because these are great songs to think about.
They're
And
the
to
best, really.
give us ideas. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
100%.
Yeah.
So we hope you think about them. And then
Yeah.
in the meantime,
Happy reading.